Class, this is to just kind of practice, this video is to practice looking at the financial statements, or at least the annual report for a company, and seeing how the general principles of accounting apply. And I'm just kind of picking out some examples. So to do that, we're going to use American Eagle's 2017, or one that was published early in 2017, for mostly covers 2016, their report. And we're going to go, usually the easiest place to find these applications are in the first footnote and first and second footnotes of the financial statements. So this is the footnotes here you see in front of you. We're going to go to the number 2, summary of significant accounting policy. Sometimes that's the first one, sometimes it's the second one, but you're looking for that because that's a good place to find this idea. So we go down just a couple paragraphs, tells us who's involved with the idea of consolidated financial statements and discontinued operations. Well, that's not quite as obvious as we might think, but that is a situation of comparable. What they're telling us is that certain parts of their business are going to be gone, and so to compare it to past years, you would not have to also take that out of past years as well. So that's an example of that principle. Fiscal year gives us an idea of how timely the information is. So one of the things to make things relevant is we have to get the information fast enough that we can make a decision. And this tells us that the last year that we're dealing with is ended January 28, 2017. Now that's getting kind of old information, so that's not as timely as we would like. Of course, it's been published a while ago. All right. Estimates, this paragraph, if you look at it, makes assumptions and estimates about various assets and liabilities, and they could be changing. So if we look at our principles, we like to have things that are verifiable in terms of that, and estimates, the whole point of that disclosure is to tell us that maybe it's not exactly verifiable. We had to estimate. However, what we will note is that we should be able to recalculate their estimates the same way they did. And that's to help us get information in a timely way, because if they waited till everything was known, they would not be able to get it in a timely way. All right, so we keep moving down our footnotes, and there's a list of accounting pronouncements that are changing, and you'll see that that also is about making things comparable, because they're going to make some changes in how they do accounting, and they're being told they have to by GAAP changes. Now, if you look more carefully down to this little part here, you'll see that they're applying the idea of materiality and saying that this is not a big enough amount that is going to impact substantially decision making by investors. Because remember, that is our primary user group, is investors. Foreign currency, cash and cash equivalents. Now, if we were to go to note 3, and we won't here, it will tell us a little bit about the measurement of cash and cash equivalents, how we measure how much is on the balance sheet, and when it is recognized, when it actually qualifies. And that also is what this section is about under merchandise inventory. That tells us when we actually record inventory. So that is their policy and how they have applied the concept of recognition. When the recognition is the concept of when do we put it on the financial statements, and they're telling us that that happens when they have both title and risk of loss for the merchandise transfers to American Eagle. Now, just above that is a measurement. They're valued at the lower of average of cost or market using the retail method. So that tells us how they know the amount to put on the balance sheet. They're going to use the average, and that also is something that could be verifiable and is relatively understandable as well, given that those standards. So you get the idea that basically each of these explanations is in some way or another related to the disclosure, to the principles that we've reviewed in our PowerPoint and is included in the concept statements. Perhaps a couple more examples. We have property equipment. We have more about lower of cost or market, slow moving merchandise. And when that happens, like the shrinkage, when that would be measured and how it could be verified with historic results. We have how long that the property equipment is going to be utilized for. That again is an idea of measurement, as well as what method they use for